The unintended consequences of the green revolution abundant food system has massive, massive consequences of our health and our infertility. Really, the vision is to be a space where we can learn ourselves how to live in this harmonious relationship with the earth. Nature and our bodies are self-healing, self-balancing, and self-correcting. We can actually produce nutrient-dense, whole food cheaper than the conventional system.
I am just in awe just listening to the last 5 minutes that what you spoke because so phenomenal and I'm just I can't even speak now because
Welcome to The Planet Forward with Preetha. Conversations for a greener future. The place where we ignite discussions and uncover innovations driving us towards sustainability. Every episode, join your host Preetha as we explore the stories, ideas, and pioneers making a real difference in our world. Get ready to be inspired, learn, and be a part of the change that propels us forward to a greener tomorrow.
hello and welcome to Planet Forward with Preetha, where we explore the future of our planet through stories of regenerative leadership, purpose-driven innovation, and soulful action. Today, I have the deep honor of welcoming someone whose work has profoundly impacted the regenerative movement, Ryland Engelhart. You may know Ryland as a co-creator of the groundbreaking documentary Kiss the Ground, a film that sparked a global awakening to the power of soil and regenerative agriculture. Beyond filmmaking, Ryland is a heart-centered activist, spiritual entrepreneur, and the co-founder of Sovereignty Ranch, a new living ecosystem in Austin, Texas, dedicated to personal and planetary healing. Ryland's work blends ecology, consciousness, and storytelling in a way that invites all of us to remember our sacred bond with the earth. We will be diving into his vision for the sequel to Kiss the Ground, his efforts to bring sustainability into universities, and the deeper soul work that underpins his mission. Ryland, welcome to Planet Forward. It's truly a gift to have you here.
Wow. I feel, thanks for that extraordinary, passionate, enlivened introduction. I think that was maybe the most
Thank
exciting,
you.
passionate introduction I've ever been introduced with. So
I'm so
thank you
grateful.
so much, Preetha, for the invitation and for who you are and for putting this together.
Thank you so much. I am so thrilled beyond words today. You have no idea. So let's just dive into the questions. The first one I have is you've done so much. It's like I can just go on and on today. So I want to focus on the next chapter, Sovereignty Ranch. Tell us about your vision for Sovereignty Ranch. What inspired it and what do you hope it becomes for the world?
Yes, thank you. So Sovereignty Ranch is where I live. It's a 200-acre regenerative farm and ranch in Hill Country, Texas, in Bandera, which is the cowboy capital of the world.
Yes.
And it is an agro-hospitality event center with the mission and vision to embody regeneration, community, good earth stewardship, elevating consciousness within human relations and building community. And yeah, we hope to host and be an epicenter of gathering and community for these areas of interest. And it is, we have about 30 head of dairy. We have a raw dairy on the farm. So we have a herd of Jersey cows that are grazing, rotational grazing. We have
Wow.
250 laying hens. We have thousands of fruit trees. We have greenhouses. We have an on-farm restaurant. And we have a couple of event centers or event spaces to host gatherings. Really, the vision is to be a space where we can learn ourselves how to live in this harmonious relationship with the earth and host people, whether it's just for a meal in our restaurant or for a weekend corporate offsite for a company, or we have events that we put on ourselves. We have an event called Food is Medicine in September 25th through the 28th. With many amazing health and wellness practitioners, regenerative farmers, activists, entrepreneurs, investors. And then we have another big event that we're going to do early next year that we've already hosted 3 times here on the property, which is called Confluence. And it's a fringe health and wellness, medical freedom. And when I say fringe, meaning communities of people who their ideas around health and wellness are very unconventional and are pushing the boundaries, exploring, what is wellness, what is reality, and questioning reality with curiosity, and having us all learn in that process. And so, yeah, it's also where my sister, who is the queen bee and the leader of this project, me and my wife are collaborating and partners on it, as well as I'm working on a bunch of other things. But it's really a family project. So brother and sisters and husbands and wives and children all running this project together. And we also have other people who are working that live here and work here in the agricultural world of it, as well as in the hospitality world of it, as well as in the building and improving infrastructure part of it. So I would say my whole life has been aspiring to be the change we wish to see in the world. And I got to see my parents do that through, their entrepreneurial adventures and aspirations and what they've built. And I got to, participate in that with the building of Cafe Gratitude and Gracias Madre plant-based restaurants in California. And that led to my discovery of soil health and regenerative agriculture about about 15 years ago. And that led to me, creating Kiss the Ground, the nonprofit, in my garage. And really the vision was, oh my God, human beings can have a relationship with the earth that is reciprocal and regenerative, and we don't have to buy into the story that human beings are a plague or a virus or a pathogen or a cancer on planet Earth, that we actually can be a probiotic, that we can be a healing species, a keystone species that can heal and restore and regenerate this beautiful, precious earth that we have been given to live on. And so our vision is to be a space for gathering and the space for us to be able to learn and grow and become more embodied in our regenerative aspirations and way of life, and bring people into that way of life through coming onto our land, onto our property, having a meal, and then learning about where that meal came from and how the soil was treated and why that treatment of the soil made that soil more alive, which made more nutrient availability in that food. And so, yeah, that's I would say the vision.
I was just mesmerized just listening to you, and I did not want to interrupt your train of thoughts. First is grateful that I got to meet you in person in my life, and also grateful that I got to meet your family, especially your sister. She being the architect of the entire vision, and you're saying you and your wife and others are just executing. She's an amazing, spiritually enlightened person because she connects the dots so beautifully. And I also got to eat a meal at your very famous restaurant, Cafe Gratitude. That was on my bucket list for the longest time, and I got to eat that meal with you. And I would recommend everybody watching this podcast to, if ever you are in LA, you should go to Cafe Gratitude because the food and the ambience and the experience is amazing. So, looking forward to coming to Sovereignty Ranch, and I'm sure that experience will continue there as well. Do you want to speak a little bit of the upcoming event that is happening, which is Food is Medicine? So, viewers can get more information about it. And if they're interested, they can join you as well.
Food is Medicine is a immersive conference here on Sovereignty Ranch over 3 days, September 25th through the 28th. And we hope to have probably between 150 and 250 people. And we have probably 30 speakers. And I would say that it really is for those that are interested, curious in how to live a more connected and wholesome life, and understanding that nature is this beautiful, perfect design that God created, the medicine for a healthy, vital life in nature. And we've disconnected ourselves in so many ways, and I think there is a deep yearning for being reconnected to nature and reconnected to the healing of our bodies and of the earth in a participatory way, in a way that understands the nuance of this very dynamic system of nature that we are a part of, and wants to understand, how can I heal my body, how can I participate in healing my community, how can I participate in being part of the healing on planet earth, within the systems specifically to do with food and agriculture. We have some amazing speakers. Will Harris, who is from Bluffton, Georgia. He's got a beautiful accent, and he's an amazing example of someone who took sovereignty over his future. He came into ranching in a very conventional way, and saw how it was degrading communities, human health, rural America, the animals in which they raised, and really doubled down on transforming that system. And now he has created his not only his farm and ranch is being regenerated, but he's regenerating a small town that now is starting to thrive because he created the jobs there, and he created a whole processing plant around his regenerative farm and ranch, and in turn it's created all these different needs in the local community that now are being met through a community building around his regenerating farm. And I would say that
That's
that's
wonderful.
part of what we're trying to do here is, for those that have been to Burning Man. It's a festival in the desert, and there's something called Center Camp. But you could see this metaphor anyway. But you have one kind of central hub of community, and then community can build around it. So we hope that Sovereignty Ranch will be a center camp for an agricultural neighborhood to build around us. And that's what happened in Bluffton, Georgia, where Will Harris started White Oak Pastures.
That's
And
amazing. That's wonderful.
so he's going to be speaking of his journey of creating a regenerative food production system, agricultural system, as well as a brand, and his success with that. We have a woman named Courtney Swan, who has a very popular podcast called the Real Food Podcast, and she's been a big voice in the Maha movement, supporting all these initiatives coming from Bobby Kennedy's HHS leadership around, changing our food system and getting dyes out of our foods, and getting more fluoride out of our water. There's all these different ways that right now there's from the government. They're actually working on how do we create greater health here in America. And so she's been a big advocate and champion. So she'll be sharing her journey and her success. And there's MMA fighters who have healed their bodies from food as medicine. We also have another woman named Erin Martin, who's a good friend of mine, who created something called Oklahoma RX, which is Food is Medicine is a bill that she got passed in Oklahoma that is allowing for Medicaid and Medi-Cal to pay, instead of just paying people to get, or paying for pharmaceuticals and pills, it's allowing people to pay for lifestyle coaching and whole foods from small, regenerative, organic, sustainable food producers in that region, and showing that there is actually a huge savings of cost to the overall system by
Absolutely.
preemptively feeding people healthy food versus needing to pay for pharmaceutical interventions after people are sick, and disease is setting in, and all different kinds of health dysfunctions are taking place.
Especially healing the bodies naturally versus focusing on fixing the symptoms, right? So by making sure that eating healthy food, you're actually resetting our bodies to the old ways of healing versus trying to get chemicals induced into our bodies through medications, through pharmaceuticals. That is the propagation what is happening today. So that's amazing that what you're trying to achieve here. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, there's a beautiful, I can't remember who said this first, but it, nature and our bodies are self-healing, self-balancing, and self-correcting. And foods are the stimulants to support the body, support nature to heal, regenerate, restore. And so I think wherever you are on your healing journey, this event is going to be an amazing, amazing event with a very, very full spectrum experience of people that have taken on this idea of food as medicine, whether they've applied it to their own life and their own career, whether they've made a business, promoting and bringing a product to market, or they, have been a doctor that's seen this process happen for many different people, or they've taken these ideas and brought it into public policy and changing laws. I think the theme is food is medicine. Eat your healings, healing your body, healing your community, healing the system. And so how do you if you wanted to plug into either three of those tiers of healing, uh, come here to get inspired by different people that have been working on that.
That is amazing. And I want everyone who is into this journey of healing participate in it. And I'm sure I'm going to be there. I'll 100% be there.
That
Um,
was my question. I was gonna say, Preetha,
yes,
did
yes,
you
I
get your
am.
ticket yet?
I am going to sign up and I'm going to get the ticket because this is something which I personally believe a lot. And coming from India, our forefathers always advocated for this. In my mother tongue or in the language I speak, they say unave marande. Unave means food. Maranda means medicine, which basically says food is medicine. So in everything that we've been taught right from our childhood, the foods we have to eat greens every day. There was a reason behind it because it was it was scientific if you look at it right now, but there was a way our forefathers, our grandfathers always used to say, or our grandmothers always treat your body naturally. Don't eat medicine. Every time you have any small ailment, don't rush to the pharmacy to get a pill and pop. You always have to think, is there a way for you to heal it naturally? And so whatever you said right now resonates with me so much. And for me, it is going to be such a, uh, you know, uh, big opportunity to learn it from the experts. So I'll definitely be there, and I'll encourage everybody listening to this podcast to be there as well. So let's pivot to another session, Kiss the Ground. This is one documentary that I would recommend every human on this universe to watch because it completely transformed the way I looked at sustainability and how I looked at Mother Earth. So now, since you said you're going to have a sequel to Kiss the Ground, I'm really intrigued. So, what can we expect from the sequel? How does it build on the impact of the original?
Yeah, so Kiss the Ground, we started working on that in 2000, let's see, 2014. Took 7 years to produce. It came out on Netflix. 10 million people saw it on Netflix over
Yes.
4 years. Now, Kiss the Ground and Common Ground, the sequel, have been released on Amazon Prime, so they're available there. As far as how the second, they're both really messages for humanity to awaken to this idea that we can heal and regenerate the earth. The first one focused a lot on climate and the solution of pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it into the ground, and the remarkable abilities for land to heal and restore. Like, I don't know if you remember that sequence in the Loose Plateau of China, 14,000 square miles, the John Lu section that was just totally degraded and then totally brought back to life. Yeah, just showing the scale and scope of how regeneration can take place. The second film, Common Ground, it really focuses on this idea of regeneration and soil health, and is something that is bipartisan. That all different kinds of people are participating and doing this because it makes sense. It makes sense. So everyone wants healthy food, clean water, healthy soil, their their family to be healthy and safe. And so it shows a diversity of people that are all participating in the regenerative movement, and it also shows the way that policy and science has become corrupted in favor of a chemical, industrial, agricultural system, and that the university system and the agencies that govern and create policies on agriculture, their whole worldview has been based on a sort of chemistry idea, the idea that we need chemistry and chemicals to interact with nature to create enough food to feed the world. There, was a very strong campaign that chemical and seed companies brought out to the world that, we have a growing population. Of course we do. It's true. We have billions of people to feed. We need a healthy, abundant food system. And so, we've used synthesized nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, herbicides, fungicides, GMOs to create a sort of very mono-focused, corn, soy, big ag production to create an abundance of ingredients that become, completely in everything in our food, whether it's processed vegetable oils with corn, or high fructose corn syrup with corn, or soy, vegetable oils. And we've commoditized, invested a lot in the infrastructure to produce a lot of cheap calories, and the downstream consequences of that very productive food system is a degradation to our soil, to the nutrient density of our food, to the dependency on a lot of conventional inputs and chemicals that are aggregating in our body and our cells, and leading to a lot of degenerative health disorders in our children, in our entire population. It's leading to obesity, the number one killer, heart disease,
Yes.
cancer, and then
Diabetes.
yeah. Yes. I don't know. Yeah, it's up there. So, anyways, the unintended consequences of the green revolution abundant food system has massive consequences of our health and our infertility. And so it dives into how did we get there with the land grant universities and the government guiding policy and funding for research, and when you pay for funding to find specific research agendas, then you can, control the science and control the narrative and control, the direction of how things go. And then it shows these sort of anomaly, rebel farmers and ranchers doing something different, and showing that at scale you can be more profitable and you can produce healthy, nutritious food in a way that's also restoring the
And
ecosystem ecology.
that process can be scalable too. It's not something we can only do at small scale, and we can scale it to feed this larger population. What the narrative that has been told, the reason why we had to adopt to a chemical-based farming was we needed um, food for a larger population and needs to be faster. So we can change the narrative to say that we can do it in a sustainable way, in a regenerative way, and still be able to meet the demands of feeding this larger population across the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe, and from the words of Gabe Brown, who's a mentor and advisor, he's also featured in Kiss the Ground and Common Ground. He's a rancher and farmer from North Dakota. He said that he has seen that we can actually produce nutrient dense, whole food cheaper than the conventional system. And, part of that is because the inputs, the high costs of chemicals, chemistry-based seeds,
Pesticides and other
pesticides,
things.
herbicides, fungicides, you know, the but the paradigm that that system occurs like the most productive system, and most farmers and producers are locked into that system. So to turn around or to change feels very scary and daunting. And one thing, farmers work harder and are better. There's some of the best people on the planet, as far as
Absolutely.
hardworking and committed to doing the right thing and leaving the land better than they found it. And they've been sold a bill of goods and a system of agriculture that is very difficult to get out of. And so our film is wanting to exemplify and show some of the leaders who have done that and are working to help train and guide others in that direction, so that they can get off the treadmill, they can become healthier in their own lives, on their own in their own families, as well as producing healthier food for this country and around the world.
Thank you. That is amazing. And I'm sure that is the direction the world needs to move to ensure that we have a much healthier future generations to carry on the purpose of this earth. So just pivoting again, last time when we spoke, you had mentioned about your focus now is to bring regeneration into academia. So I want to ask more question on that. Like you're now looking to collaborate with universities. What's your dream scenario when it comes to engaging students, educators, and institutions?
Yeah, so specifically, I'm the campaign manager for the distribution of the educational cut for Common Ground, which is the sequel, which is on Amazon Prime. But outside of it being available on Amazon Prime, our objective is to distribute it freely to 6th through 12th grade classrooms, educators, as well as distributing it to university professors who have sustainability programs, who have agricultural programs, and they're interested in having their students have a unique perspective or an inspiring perspective on the future of agriculture with the idea of regenerative agriculture. So in September, it is the short. It's a 45-minute version of the film, and then it comes with a 6-part educational curriculum that's called the Regenerative Classroom. And the objective is to just freely distribute that to educators and to networks of NGOs and networks of farmers to have the film be used as an educational resource so that people can, again, get inspired, get more confidence, get more insight into, could this work for me? Is this a solution to my challenge? Because the thing is, big ag or conventional green revolution agriculture, it's working for about 20% of the population. Is 20% of the farmers in this country are big enough and have enough government subsidies and a big enough infrastructure where they're able to, based on scale, be quite profitable. And then there's the other 80% that is struggling, committing suicide at 5 times the rate of any other profession, I think it's five times higher than any other profession in the United States. And again, I know that's not only in the United States, and because the
It's
pressure,
all over the world.
yeah,
Specific in India also we have a problem like that. Yes.
their wives or husbands are working second jobs, they're working second jobs. So it's a very challenging, difficult, paradigm to break and to change. But the good news is sometimes it takes, and again, back to Gabe Brown, people, when they hit a wall and they can't do the same thing, it's insanity doing the same thing and expecting a different result. When people hit that wall and they're willing to try something new, is oftentimes the story that I hear from regenerative farmers and ranchers who go in this direction, because they can't seem to find a way out in their current paradigm. And so they end up, seeing a video on YouTube, and that leads them down a rabbit hole that has them start integrating these practices of regenerative agriculture, the reduction of mechanical disturbance, so reducing the tillage, reducing the inputs, the conventional inputs, reducing the having a living root in the ground as much of the year as possible. So not keeping the ground, keeping the ground covered and leaving armor on the soil. So when you harvest a crop, leaving the residues on the soil so you can feed the microorganisms that organic matter. Having some kind of animal integration into cropping systems, because obviously the cow and cow manure is a great fertility for the land. So if you have animals roving on the land before you grow, then your soil is going to be much healthier. And then a focus on crop rotation and diversity above ground and below ground. So, and then context is another distinction in regenerative agriculture. You always have to be, everything is unique within its own context. So there's not practices that work in every system. Everything is context specific. So what can work here in Hill Country, Texas, probably wouldn't work in Montana, wouldn't work in, California, or,
So how do you adapt to that specific geography to make sure that it works, right? So to your point, context for that specific geography, how do you adapt to it?
Yeah, I mean, we've just gotten to Texas a year and a half ago, and so we have greenhouses that we've planted trees in that have gotten frozen because the temperature swings high and warm and cold. We've challenged with leaf cutter ants that just completely desecrate
Destroy.
things that we're planting. We've been struggling because of the lack of rains, we've been struggling to get cover crops to take in the soil. So and another challenging thing is, because in agriculture, it's very slow cycle. So you're learning. It's not like you're adapting day to day. You try, no, your crop is, a 90-day or 120-day. So it's almost a whole year before you have another opportunity to try a different micro adjustment. So anyways, we're hoping that there can be some technology, the use of AI and agronomist AI is where you can have a system where you could ask questions specifically in agriculture, specific in certain contexts or cropping systems. I know a friend, John Kemp of Advancing Eco Agriculture, has a new product that's an AI agronomist.
That's
So
wonderful. And
yeah.
this can be a really good, problem statement that can be presented to the universities, the academia, which the students can solve for. This could be an amazing use case for them, and say like, can you blend technology into this to see how we can forecast and make sure that we are able to find solution. One other place where I think is from a supply chain perspective. Go for it, Saurabh.
Yeah, no, I just while you were on the topic of students and universities, people who are just in the coming into their adulthood, coming into their career, just going through college and leaving college, it's such a ripe moment to get people engaged because what we know, once the Titanic is headed in a direction, it's hard to change its direction. But and human beings, we're all stubborn. We're all creatures of habit, and it's hard to change habits. And it's also hard to change consciousness and our worldview. And if we can, at a young age, have a worldview of regeneration is possible and regenerative agriculture is a way to heal and restore life on planet Earth, and we know that that's possible, we then start to see how can my skills, my career, my business aspirations plug into accelerating and being a part of that paradigm versus just going into the paradigm of, all right, I'm going to make a lot of money and I maybe want to do less harm, but not, oh, regeneration is possible. Regenerative agriculture is a process of regeneration that creates all the raw materials that most things are made of. How do I create a brand or a business or a service that is in service to this expansion of this consciousness and this practice and this relational behavior on earth between humans and nature?
That's so beautifully said. You're absolutely right. We can mold their thinking, like you said about consciousness, right before they get into the work stream after college. So if that juncture we can intercept and say, "Oh, this is possible," I think with AI completely changing the landscape of how we do business today, this can be another breakthrough movement, I believe. And one other space I think is supply chain. Right? You said there are different hierarchies all around the world. One part of the world is abundant in food and one part of the world is still struggling for food. So how do we make sure that there is this um, equitable way in which the entire world population can have at least 2 meal a day? What can we do? And supply chain definitely plays a very crucial part in it. So how do we bring these business schools who's got majors focused on supply chain entrepreneurship and intercept sustainability into it and say like, how do you make this more robust so that there is a way in which we can bring regenerative agriculture across the globe and also the product such as a food? How do we make sure that it's available for the entire population? I'm personally interested in that because that's something which I always have this pet peeve. This coming from a country where I know there is a larger population which still struggles to have 2 days a meal. How do we make sure that regenerative agriculture is becoming a way of life? And how can we become self-sustainable? And that's something which I really want to focus on. So I'm also a industry mentor for UTD's business school, and I actually had a conversation with a professor there who also has been on my podcast. And I said I'm going to speak with Ryland, and I definitely want to bring this supply chain perspective. So more to come on that. But I'm really interested how we can bring all these factors and make a difference in this universe. So, Greg, great insights that you brought. Now I'm really intrigued because you brought about consciousness. So I'll pivot to that. That's another area which I'm so
Just before
interested.
we go into that, I just want to say, I think food systems need to be localized. We can't expect to have everything available everywhere. And I think, yeah, it's just unrealistic. It's unsustainable. It, and we kind of have done that, like the global aid sort of apparatus of shipping cheap, stable, void of nutrients around the world.
Yeah,
And
we've done that. And no, that's not what I intend to. We should never do
yeah,
that.
no, no, no.
Yes,
Yeah, so we need to focus on localized food systems and regional food systems, and getting people excited about their regional food system and supporting their regional food system. That's another example of what we're doing with Sovereignty Ranch. Is we're creating a regional food hub, of regional local food culture. And so I think we need to be, but whether it's in school systems, we want to be focused on local foods, and
absolutely.
make those desirable, make those fashionable, make that what we want to be emphasizing as. And then, and then where we are localized, we have much more opportunity to engage, to influence, to transform, to vote with our dollars in a more intimate way of what we want and why we want it to be grown in a particular way. So I know in my restaurant, right, we have people come in and they tell me things that they like or they don't like, and that has a lot of power. They say, "Oh, I really want more fig items on the menu. I love these fig Newtons that you made," or I love this fig salad. And I hear that a few times, and that influences me to start planting a few more fig trees or
Absolutely. Yeah.
adding more figs onto the menu. So I think where we're yeah, so we can have influence in our local food context. If we're engaged and we're connected to it, we can influence it going in a particular direction.
Oh, I completely agree. It like, when you say about localized, like I remember when I went to Himalayas 3 years ago, and the apples what you get in that particular part of the country is so crisp and so delicious that you wouldn't get that in the rest of the country. And of course, because of other things, one is supply chain, that fruit is not available to the southern tip of India. So I started wondering, what if this particular apple with so much nutrient is sustainably grown with no pesticides whatsoever is available to the southern part of India? How good it would be, and it's reasonably available. It's not too expensive, so even a common man can avail that. That was my thought process. What can we do to ensure that that particular fruit which is grown in the northern part of India, such as the Himalayas, how can it be available to the southern part of India? So that's where I was going from. Again, it is localized, it's within the country, but how do you make
Yes.
sure that the food is available? That is where I was. My thought process is always there. Like there's abundance in this world. Abundance in the Mother Nature is very abundant. How do we make sure it's available sustainably to every citizen of this world without
Yes.
impacting her too much? That's where I was going.
Yes. Yeah, and I think you're right. There is a lot of innovation from young people to build upon that, and reminds me of something that happened during COVID, where there was all these different farms and ranches that were having to throw away milk, and there was no grocery stores open, and they figured out within 3 weeks how to set up a system that was directing, farmers that needed to get rid of product and people who were starving or didn't have quality food, and they solved that supply chain issue, and they created an intermediary. So I think, yeah, young people and their ingenuity is definitely an exciting thing to infuse the regenerative idea and giving them the challenges and having them be able to work on those challenges and be solutionaries.
Absolutely. Young minds have such amazing ideas that, you just have to give them the opportunity, and I'm sure they'll come up with things which we might not even think through for now. So I'm just going to the other topic, spirituality, like I mentioned earlier. Like, I'm really intrigued to know more about that. How do you stay spiritually aligned while leading powerful, large scale initiatives? Everything what you've said thus far are like really, really large scale. Even to have a vision like that takes a lot of effort. So I want to understand from a spiritual lens, what do you do?
It's definitely it's hard to say that it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3. I would say that there's part of it is, a spiritual foundation that I get from my family and from, my life thus far, and the philosophical view that we're all one, and God is love, and we all have access and are all connected to God through our hearts, and that even though the world seems beyond winning or beyond, so there's so much problems and so much, that there's a spiritual dimension to life that is divine and that is perfect, and that we are unfolding in a vision, that we are God awakening to our remembered self of that cell in the body of God, that cell in the body of God. And so, yeah, what does it look like? It looks like a life of philosophical understanding of and connection to that higher power. And honestly, I get clobbered over the head and walk around slumped and kind of like a zombie sometimes for a week or a month, and feeling totally lost and disconnected, and then have a moment of revelation, connection, and it oftentimes comes through being self-centered and seeking validation by doing things and then finding no satisfaction, being numb in that action of self seeking self-aggrandizement, and then having a moment of just pure service and pure giving, and from just this place of the heart, and being remembered of, oh my God, to be humbled, to be to be honest, to be open, to still learn, to not have to pretend like we have it all together. And then that opening creates a vision of possibility, and you see things that can connect that you couldn't see before, and you go from blind to having 20/20 vision. And yeah, I mean, and it goes from being, having authentic conversations with my wife, to friends, to mentors, to sitting, meditating, and to pray and ask for guidance. It comes from walking in nature and listening to the sounds of the wind and the birds and the bees, and just allowing nature to infuse me with that beauty and that power, and allowing me to come back to my work with that. And then there's my kids, looking at my kids and getting to be just inspired and awed by their beauty and their wonder and their awe, and getting to be present with them and remembering, oh, yeah, that the being present is the present, and love can only happen when we're present, and through love can, these inspired ideas and this conviction, that it actually is coming from a good place, can come, which then gives me the confidence to, make bold requests and ask, and create things, and engage people in participating in those things, in those moments of connection. And then, I've been, I would say that my skill set in life is in relationship and emotional intelligence in relationship, being able to deeply connect with people. And there's always this delight of how do I serve and contribute, not wanting anything in return, and knowing that when I give like that, I can go back and ask for support and get that support. And then having a community or a network of people where you've done so much goodwill that then you can know if you have an idea, you're not alone in that idea because you have people who you've contributed to and are excited to contribute to you. And then also integrity, having a high level of integrity. If we don't have integrity with ourselves or our relationships, we can't believe in ourselves because we look to the record keeper of our how we've kept our word. And if our record within our own mind and in our own track record of our relationships and our agreements have been broken and not repaired, we have a disbelief that we can do anything significant because we just look to the reference of, well, how did it go last time? Well, I broke my word, I didn't clean it up, and then I just find myself sort of on the treadwheel of trying to get, and in this frantic, trying to get, consume, and more for me energy, which maybe that works for some people, but it doesn't work for me. And I can feel when I'm grasping for something versus just knowing that that shall be, and I'm going to show up and be receptive and flexible for how the results or the details or the outcomes will come. I have a clear intention. I'm willing to make clear requests and asks and be bold in taking steps and surrendered and open to the receptivity of how that idea will come back into form.
I am just in awe just listening to the last 5 minutes that what you spoke, because I think every single person should imbibe on it. And just reflecting, you're very highly evolved spiritual person for you to say this with so much ease. Because what resonated for me was how grounded and centered you are. You're connected to the source. Every action that you do is something with full surrender. And there is this famous quote. It's a Sai Baba's book, which says, "Surrender does not mean that you know you lost control. Surrender means knowing from the beginning that you never had control."
Yeah, I think Ravi Shankar said, or is it Ravi Shankar or no? Who was no Krishnamurti? Krishnamurti said when they asked him what was the secret to his, to the secret to life, and he said, "I don't mind how it goes."
Yeah, yeah. And I think every sacred book is telling you that. You told me once, we had a conversation, you've read the Bhagavad Gita and you understand that. And in Gita, it says, you every day to wake up and do what is expected of you is your dharma. But what is the outcome is not, you don't need to know that. That will fall in its place. And you said it so beautifully, waking up and just going with what your intentions are so clear. And what the output is, you're not defining that. You're just hoping that it will happen the way it is intended to be. That's so beautifully said. And you said about integrity. That's absolutely true. When you know your true north and you're marching towards that, and complete confidence that the higher source is there to guide you through the whole process. And you said, the present is to be the current presence. I love the way you said it, and your love for your children.
The presence, the present is the presence.
The present is the presence.
Yeah, the
And
present is the presence of being present.
that's beautiful, because that is where we as humans always, we're so worried about the past, what happened, coulda, woulda, shoulda. We're so worried about the future, what will happen, and then we forget to live today. And little do we know, the only thing we can do is be present today. That's all is within our control. We have no control what lies for tomorrow. And you living through that every single day is amazing. And that explains how you're able to go through different big projects. And you know for sure that there's a higher being or higher power that's guiding you to get there. And you just go with that. So thank you so much for giving that insight. I'm just completely mesmerized just listening to that. With that, so I'd like to understand about your rituals and regenerative practice. What daily or seasonal practices keep you grounded and tuned into earth consciousness?
Hmm. Good question. Yeah, as far as seasonal practices, well, one is we have a garden and we have food here growing on the farm. So consuming, one of my great joys of life is eating fruits from the vine or the bush or the tree when they're ripen in season. So yeah, just the enjoyment of like right now we're eating blackberries and figs and just came through the peaches season.
Wow.
So yeah, in enjoying the fruits, the sweetness that nature provides from the earth, from trees, and allowing that nutritional intelligence of what is seasonal, what is local, informing my life as one nutritional input. And then, as far as I shared this earlier, being outside and I move sheep every day. So I'm you could say a shepherd in that I move sheep every day, rotationally grazing sheep around Sovereignty Ranch. And the going from Zoom world, podcasts, phone calls, coordinating events, raising funds, writing documents, to then going and moving sheep,
Connecting to nature.
connecting to nature every day, throughout the day makes a huge difference. The holy trinity of my practice as it comes to relationship is expressing gratitude and appreciation for those around me, being comfortable to make requests of the people around me, so being able to ask for help. And then the third is to be willing to apologize often, apologizing for my missteps, my however, and these tools are reflected in a body of work called Kindred Spirit, which is a body of work that my father and stepmother put together over the last 25 years, and me and my wife have just started to take people through the process of these tools, Kindred Spirit tools, and we've led a couple of workshops, and we're gonna lead one in person over for in early next year for Valentine's Day weekend here on the ranch, called Kindred Spirit, Fulfilling Love's Promise, and it's about just the tools of how to be in successful, thriving relationship.
Oh my
Because
God, that's amazing. I would recommend everybody to go through it because what you said about the three tenets, right? Making sure that you're grounded, gratitude, which is absolutely required. And then everybody can make mistakes. We are not, we are humans. And having that mind to say sorry and apologizing, not coming, ego coming into play, that is so humbling. That is very important. And what was the third tenet? These are the two things which stood to
yeah,
me.
apology and then request, being able to ask for
Asking
help.
for help.
Yes.
Very seldom humans do that, right? Because we all are always having this preconceived notion. Sometimes it's ego which prevents us from asking help. The other time is like, is it okay to ask help? We hesitate. And
Yeah.
if we are getting past that and are open to asking help, worst thing is they can say no, but at least you ask for it, right? So that's very important in a human being, and those three qualities. And so thank you so much. That it's amazing. I'm just going to have my own self reflection on that.
Yeah, and then the other thing is internally, the practice of prayer and the practice of thanking God for this life and for this experience and for all the blessings, and also asking for guidance, asking for clarity, asking for his will to be done, his vision, for me to be able to see through his vision and see through the eyes of love and the heart, and to, yeah, speak the truth and speak in a way that can be helpful. And so, yeah, asking for help, asking for clarity, asking for guidance in how to show up and how to get out of the way, such that more truth and goodness and clarity can come through.
That's so phenomenal. And I'm just I can't even speak now because this is something which I'm trying and I'm aspiring to be there, but I'm just at the inception stages right now. But just hearing that has been your mantra all your life, to help you guide through the different courses of life, and you're still imbibing on it, and it's come to a point where you and your wife are willing to impart that knowledge to others who are willing to go that path so that they too can lead a much grounded and reflectful life. So thank you so much for bringing that. So the last question I have for you, Ryland, it's been a wonderful conversation. So if you were speaking to a classroom of future change makers, what message would you offer?
Great question. If I was speaking to a classroom of future change makers, what would be my message for them? Mm. Well, I would say we are all unique emanations of this creation that we are a part of, that we all have a something unique to offer. And compare and despair, there's always going to be people above us and below us, and so don't allow that to be a discouragement. Really look into your heart, look into what drives you, what inspires you, where do you love to serve? How do you love to serve? How can I serve? How can I contribute in the best way possible? And it may be overt and it may be very subtle, how and what message you get back, but really just look for what is that thing that inspires you, that has you be that you are committed to, and and go for it, and share it. And really, the way that you can the way the litmus test to see if it's right is, if you share it with other people, do you get more inspired and do they get more inspired? That is probably a good direction to go. If you feel more enlivened, and be around people who are going to nurture and encourage you to take that on. If someone is diminishing, or I- we can never create something new or something bigger than ourselves if the community around us can't see us fulfilling that vision. So we either have to find a new community of people s- to surround us, because if we're committed to doing something and those around us diminish our aspiration or diminish our idea, either we want to change our idea or we want to change the community around us to support us in fulfilling that idea, because I believe we need to have champions behind us, any to do anything, great or that requires going beyond our comfort zone, we need to have people supporting us. And it's actually good to go through challenges. It makes us stronger. It makes us more resilient. It makes us exercise in the resistance of the world that we'll face creating something. But we do need a nest or a community of people who can rally behind us and support us and champion our ideas. Otherwise, we will not be able to remain convicted or inspired or have any kind of longevity with taking on that path or that occupation or that mission or that purpose.
Wow. That was so beautifully said. And I think this can be a testament to every single individual who is at a crossroad right now, deciding where to go and how to go. I think this should be like a mantra they should take to see how they can um, go back and see if the decisions what they've taken thus far is it supporting the vision or the dream where they're going, and do they have champions around them who's going to take them to wherever they want to go in their journey. So thank you so much. That was so beautifully said. So thank you so much, Ryland, for sharing your time, wisdom, and heart with us today. Your journey is a powerful reminder that regeneration isn't just about the land, it's about how we show up for each other, for our communities, and for our planet with courage, humility, and love. Your work continues to plant seeds of hope, and I'm personally grateful for the way you walk this path with presence, poetry, and purpose. Um, as final thoughts, do you have anything to say before I sign off today?
Thank you, Preetha, for your big, buoyant heart and for stepping into creating a podcast and allowing your voice and your channel to be opened and to be a vessel for learning and inspiration and healing. And I know it probably took something for you to say, all right, I can do this. The reins are here for me to grab. And why can't I do this? And I want to just acknowledge you for doing that, because that embodiment and taking that step is going to give permission to many more to do that. And so I just want to thank and acknowledge you for that. And yeah, I'll just end with who you are is love. And really, all there is to do is get everything out of the way such that your heart, and this is you, Preetha, but all the listeners, we are love. That is our divine nature. And there's things in the way of that we've put in the way: stories, beliefs, ideas, suppressions. And so my invitation is to uh, identify what is in the way of that geyser of love that is within all of our hearts, and take the take the lock off it and allow for our love to peer through our eyes and through our hearts and through our words, and allow for that love to be expressed. Love is free, and we always have access to it, and we can always serve it, and we can always be it. And 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 we get to get out of the way so that love can come through us.
Thank you so much. That was so beautifully said. Thank you. To our listeners, if today's conversation touched you, I invite you to explore more of Ryland's work at sovereigntyranch.com and revisit Kiss the Ground to feel the pulse of the movement that's changing the world from the ground up. Until next time, stay grounded, stay visionary, keep moving planet forward with love, Preetha.
Thank you for tuning in to The Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Together, we're exploring the innovations and stories that inspire us to think and act for a sustainable world. If you're inspired by today's conversation and want to be part of this journey toward a greener future, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode filled with groundbreaking ideas and actionable solutions. Let's continue to make a difference, one episode at a time. I'm Preetha, reminding you to make every day count for our planet. Until next time, keep moving the planet forward.